Lawyers within Donald Trump's own Department of Justice are voting against the administration with their feet and heading for the exits. And I'm not talking about a trickle. I'm talking about a deluge of epic proportion. 69 out of 110 of the lawyers whose sole job is to defend the federal programs of the Trump administration, meaning everything related to one of his agencies, everything related to the White House, from birthright citizenship to DOGE to the Harvard fight to immigration, comes out of these lawyers and this division. 10 out of 23 of the supervisors have left as well. And who have they been replaced by? 15 partisan, sycophant, right-wing MAGA picked by a guy named Mike Davis. That's one. Second, judges are in a part of the resistance, even if they keep getting slapped down and rapped on the knuckles by the United States Supreme Court. There's 400 cases against the Trump administration. There's at least 40 judges that have come out in a bipartisan way and said that the Trump administration is egregious, operating in bad faith, is unconstitutional, is violating court orders. I'm going to cover it all as we look to continue to fight and draw attention to an administration who every day, every hour is circling the drain. I'm Michael Popok. You're on Legal AF. Let's talk about the Federal Programs Division of the Department of Justice. The Department of Justice employs thousands of people. Well, a lot less since Trump got into office, but it is organized by departments and divisions. There's the civil division, that's at the big top cut. Then there's the criminal division. They each have a head that reports in to the top leadership of the Department of Justice, headed by Pamela Jo Bondi, at least for now, Todd Blanche, Donald Trump's former criminal defense lawyer, Emil Bovee, who may not be going anywhere because his candidacy to be a lifetime appointed federal judge is on less than life support. That's who they report into. Once you divide the world into criminal and civil, then there are sub-departments and divisions that deal with and focus on certain areas of the law. There's the immigration unit, right? There used to be public corruption and public trust. Donald Trump, of course, shuttered that department or division. There used to be a thing called the Civil Rights Division that did exactly what the title suggests. But ever since Harmeet Dillon, who got the head of the Civil Rights Division as a consolation prize for losing the Republican National Committee chairmanship, she's effectively turned the tables and weaponized it and now going after Americans, not because they violated civil rights, because they're standing up for their civil rights. And then there's the Federal Programs Division. That is the one that, in a Trump administration, would be the most important because of his attempts to cut the umbilical cord between the federal government and the U.S. people. He's not just reshaping that relationship. He's destroying the relationship. He wants to destroy the social safety net. He wants to make people, I'd say self-reliant, but in a society where billionaires are starting to outnumber the poor and the middle class, we're just talking about a safety net for dignity. And Donald Trump is destroying that by defunding the states, defunding federal programs, closing Social Security offices, Medicare offices, Medicaid offices, Department of Education, hollowing all of those out in order to shrink the federal government so small that you can barely recognize it. And so in doing that, he's getting dragged into court a lot. There are 400 cases, over 400 cases in the first 6 months against the Trump administration. We are well on our way to the 4,000 cases I predicted at the start of the administration. So this group of the federal programs branch, which is comprised of what used to be nonpartisan or bipartisan people, just doing their job, defending what, in their view, the constitutional system. But they didn't sign up for tearing it down and wrecking it, which is what they've told a number of the interviews that were given to Reuters, who did the major part of the reporting here. Now, the Trump administration is having difficulty filling these jobs. That's no surprise. There looked like there was no plan to fill these jobs. So they've brought in 15 to do the work of 69. How's that going for you? And they're being screened by a guy named Mike Davis of the Article 3 Foundation, who's just a self-proclaimed ultra MAGA, who basically says the only qualification for somebody to join the Trump administration is undying loyalty and willingness to push the envelope of what is permissible in court. That means they want these people to lie in court and breach their ethical obligations as officers of the court. There's no two ways about it. I mean, Pam Bondi, remember her? Pam Bondi, the attorney general, said that she would fire and open up investigations against people in her department that did not, quote unquote, zealously promote the policies of the Trump administration, ... Implicitly, that means you need to lie and use bad faith litigation tactics in front of federal judges, or we're going to fire you. We already have one major whistleblower, and there are more who are coming out against the Department of Justice. In particular, Erez Ruveni, who was one of the heads of the Immigration Litigation Division. He's come out in a 27-page whistleblower report and submitted to the Senate Judiciary Committee. And it's going to be used by Senator Cory Booker, just was a guest here on Legal AF with Court Accountability Action, in the confirmation hearing of Emil Bovee, who you may not know, but is the criminal defense lawyer for Donald Trump, who was rewarded with the number 3 job in the Department of Justice, and now is failing up to be a lifetime appointed federal judge. He's never been a judge before, and an appellate judge, an appeals court judge at that. Not if the whistleblower has anything to say about it. Now, the Trump administration, of course, fires back against all of these people. And the people that have quit and are talking anonymously to Reuters, they're not coming out and filing whistleblower complaints. They're just voting with their feet and heading for the exits. But of course, the Trump administration can't help but try to attack them and change the hearts and minds of people in social media. So Harrison Fields, is that a real name or is that made up? White House spokesperson, he may be AI. I'll have to look into that. He has the following quote, though, which you might have got from ChatGPT. Quote, any sanctimonious career bureaucrat expressing, speaking of sanctimonious career bureaucrats, Mr. Fields, any sanctimonious career bureaucrat expressing faux outrage over the president's policies while sitting idly by during the rank weaponization by the previous administration has no grounds to stand on. All right, well, what is the weaponization, Mr. Fields? I'm not sure you even know. I'm sure Stephen Chung wrote that for you, but I'm not sure you know what you're talking about. I mean, I'm putting it mildly. What was the rank weaponization? Give me one example of the federal programs division of the Department of Justice under the Biden administration. Go ahead. I got time. I got time and a long legal pad. Go ahead. And that's the problem. They'll say anything out loud, the Trump administration, whether they're spokespeople, they're social media influencers, right-wing rabble like Laura Loomer, you name it. They activate the social media ecosystem in order to try to change the hearts and minds of people. None of it works in the courtrooms. Now, let's turn to the federal judges who are also going after Donald Trump. New York Times just did a great report, which I will refer you to, in which they look at the 400 cases effectively and the 50 or so federal judges that have had an opportunity in their opinions to make comment about the Trump administration and their positions in the courtroom. They call the Trump administration, this is for the headline, egregious, brazen, lawless, a lot of lawlessness, right? Ketanji Brown Jackson, the justice of the Supreme Court, justice of the Supreme Court, she said that Donald Trump is allowed to operate in a law-free zone by the Supreme Court. On immigration, we have judges like Harvey Wilkinson, of the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals, one of the Republicans there, appointed by Ronald Reagan. He'd be on the Mount Rushmore of judges if they built one. He said that about the Abrego Garcia case in the Trump administration, this is a path of perfect lawlessness, one that courts cannot condone. Judge Schultz, a George Bush appointee, about student visas being revoked, said the court cannot imagine how the public interest might be served by permitting federal officials to flaunt the very laws they've been sworn to enforce. Charlotte Sweeney, a judge in D.C., about the Alien Enemies Act, said this sentence that the courts don't have a role concerning the Alien Enemies Act's use by the president, said this sentence staggers. It is wrong as a matter of law. It attempts to read an entire provision out of the Constitution. Jamal Whitehead, appointed by Biden. The government's interpretation concerning refugees is, to put it mildly, interpretive jiggery-pokery of the highest order. It requires not just reading between the lines, but hallucinating new text that simply is not there. But we continue. Judge Thacker, appointed by Judge Obama about Abrego Garcia, said the government's contention otherwise and its argument that the federal courts are powerless to intervene are unconscionable. Patricia Millett on the District of Columbia District Court of Appeals, appointed by Obama, said about the 200 Venezuelans that were deported to El Salvador that Nazis got better treatment under the Alien Enemies Act than has happened here. In orders about targeting his critics, Judge Leon, the George W. Bush appointee, said there is no doubt this retaliatory action chills speech and legal advocacy, or that it qualifies as a constitutional harm. John Bates, a George W. Bush appointee about the law firm Jenner and Block being targeted, said the order raises constitutional eyebrows. It punishes and seeks to silence speech at the very center of the First Amendment. Beryl Howell, appointed by Barack Obama about another law firm targeted, said in a cringe-worthy twist on the theatrical phrase, "let's kill all the lawyers," Donald Trump's executive order takes the approach of "let's kill the lawyers I don't like," sending the clear message lawyers must stick to the party line or else. That's the judges. So I just gave you at the top of the hot take about the lawyers from within Donald Trump's own administration who are part now of the resistance and defiance. I invite any of them, any of the 69 who have left, including the 10 supervisors, to come on Legal AF and talk to us about it here with Michael Popok or any of our other contributors. We'll continue to follow how the defiance, the resistance, that's what we're in. We're not a party or a government in exile. We are a movement in fierce resistance and in the protection of our constitutional republic. We are the foot soldiers for the Constitution. So until my next report, this is Michael Popok on Legal AF. I'm Michael Popok, and I got some big news for our audience. Most of you know me as the co-founder of Midas Touch's Legal AF and the Legal AF YouTube channel, or as a 35-year national trial lawyer. Now, building on what we started together on Legal AF, I've launched a new law firm, the Popok Firm, dedicated to obtaining justice through compassionate and zealous legal representation. At the Popok Firm, we are focused on obtaining justice for those who have been injured or damaged by a life-altering event by securing the highest dollar recoveries. I've been tirelessly fighting for justice for the last 35 years, so my own law firm organically building on my Legal AF work just feels right. And I've handpicked a team of top-tier trial fighters and settlement experts throughout all 50 states known as big auto injury attorneys who have the know-how to beat heartless insurance companies, corporations, government entities, and their attorneys. Big Auto's attorneys working with my firm are rock stars in their respective states and collectively responsible for billions of dollars in recoveries. So if you or a loved one have been on the wrong side of a catastrophic auto, motor vehicle, rideshare, or truck accident, suffered a personal injury, or been the victim of medical malpractice, employment harassment or discrimination, or suffered a violation of your civil and constitutional rights, then contact the Popok Firm today at 1-877-POPOK-AF or by visiting my website at www.thepopokfirm.com and fill out a free case evaluation form. And if we determine that you have a case and you sign with us, we don't get paid unless you do. The Popok Firm, fighting for your justice every step of the way.